Hello everyone and welcome to Parsha with Passion. This week's Parsha is Parshas Emor. In this week's Parsha we learn something very important. Al taden es chavercha ad shetagia lemkomo. Don't judge your friend until you're in his place. This is a really important teaching talking about not being judgmental, not assuming the worst of a person, assuming the best of them, and understanding that you really have no idea what they're going through and what's making them act this way. Maybe if you were in their place, you would understand. And what I want to focus on today is you. Because we know that whenever we're asked to treat another person some way, it's automatically understood that we're supposed to be treating ourselves in the same way. For example, it says, "V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," love your friend as yourself, and we learn from here that you must love yourself. And that's the way that you come to love another person. So don't judge your friend until you're in his place. What does this mean? And this is just my own thoughts as I'm pondering this. Don't judge yourself until you're in your place. You know, we hear a lot about some very high and lofty ideas. We hear about forgiveness. We hear about letting go. We hear about not judging. We hear about just a tremendous amount of lofty, very important goals that we need in order to keep the Torah and to have a loving society, right? So what happens is when things happen to us, and if you're a good person and a spiritually growing person, then right after you're upset, you start working on your brain and trying to get yourself into, the right place and not to judge the other guy and to take it the right way, and so many different, brain contortions to be a bigger, better person. And I appreciate that. And it just shows what a very special person you are. However, what I want to point out here also is that something did happen to you and it hurt you. And there is a place for being with your feelings, for being with that pain, for being even angry at someone. Yes, you have underneath that anger, you should cultivate a deeper desire to not be angry and to work towards peace. But that feeling of being slapped in the face, for lack of a better term, is a normal human emotion that cannot be bypassed. And it's not the time for assessments because you are not in your place. When you first get hurt and you get really rattled, and I'm talking about really rattled, I'm not talking about, someone didn't say hello to you in the supermarket. I'm talking about times in your life, and we've all had this, when we get really rattled, just like tremendously hurt by a seeming or real injustice. You're not in your place. You're shaken up. And at that moment, don't judge yourself. Don't start getting so lofty and thinking, I should be a better person. I should be able to take this. I don't know what's the matter with me. Why do I feel so crummy? I should be able to figure this out. I'm bigger than this. I thought I conquered this. You know what? You're not in your place. It's not the time for judgments. It's not the time for assessments. There will be a time for assessments, but there's a way to get there. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I learned a very beautiful thing. I spoke Lashon Hara about someone. I didn't mean to. I actually was trying to say the right thing, but somehow I said really the not right thing. And I felt very, very bad about it. I'm not such a perfect person that haven't said Lashon Hara before after that. That's gossiping about another person that I'm not like that, but in this case, it was a specific person that I had a history with. So I was trying to be very, very careful in how I answered someone's question about them. And I realized that even though I was trying to be careful, I messed up. So I have a mentor, and her name is Esther, and I called her and I said, I messed up. I really messed up. This is something that I really messed up. I spoke Lashon Hara about this person. I'm trying to work on this, and I messed up, and it wasn't comfortable to say, honestly. I just, I wanted to clean this out of myself, clean this old resentment out, So I shared it with her, and her response to me was like a compassionate, we have some more work to do. We have some more work to do. It was an understanding that in that specific situation, I'm almost in my place. I'm not quite in my place. I still have more work to do. That doesn't absolve me from trying. I still need to try. I still need to be careful about what I say. I still need to treat everyone with love and respect and wipe my heart clean of all resentment. I still have to do the work. But I don't have to judge myself if I messed up. Because clearly if I'm messing up, I'm still rattled. I'm not quite in my place. And just the same way as she treated my mess up with compassion, I understood from that Hashem is treating my mess up with compassion. As long as I'm trying and I'm feeling badly about it and I want to fix it, He's looking down and saying, Rivka Malka, I love you. I know you're trying, and I'm going to send you support because I know you want support. I know you want to clean out this resentment. Let's get it done. It's going to be okay. So when you are rattled and it's not time for assessments, what is it time for? So the first thing is to be with your feelings. And the caveat to this, the important part about being with your feelings is to include Hashem in your feelings. So when you're very rattled and something happens, you can get so angry that anger actually is a function of ego. How could this happen to me? How could someone betray me? And when you get into the anger and without including Hashem, then what you're actually doing is isolating yourself from healing, because all healing comes from connection to Hashem. So when you're all shaken up, you want to be with your feelings, but include Hashem in your feelings. Include God and say, I'm hurting. Help me. And curl up in bed if you need to. Lay low if you need to. Have compassion on yourself. Be gentle with yourself, and notice that if someone really hurt you and really triggered something deep in you, well then, that part of you really needs to be held and needs compassion, and it's not the time to get hard on yourself. Now, this is the first main point of this talk, and I'm just going to rephrase it because I think it's so critical for us to know. Good people out there, we are hard on ourselves, and we are trying hard to be the best people we could possibly be. Take this in your heart. Don't judge yourself until you're in your place. You will work on yourself. I know you will. But take your time to light a candle and climb in bed or take a shower or go for a walk or slow down on your activities when you feel rattled. That's just self-care, and that is so important to honor yourself like that. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in our identity, all the things that we're supposed to be able to do. Like the mom who is part of our identity, I put dinner on the table every night. Maybe one night you don't, or the community leader who thinks that she can perform at a certain capacity all the time. Well, maybe she can't. And the point of life is not, is who you're becoming. It's not just, can you put the checkbox in the list of productivity? That productivity is only valuable if it's wholesome and part of who you're becoming. So you really want to be able to nurture yourself. Don't judge yourself. Hold off on that. And don't worry, because towards the end of this talk, we are going to talk about what it feels like to be in your place and what happens then. So the second part of this talk is actually talking a little bit more about being in your place and a little bit more about anger. Some people internalize anger, some people externalize anger. So let me just explain what I mean. Something happens with another person. First I'm angry at them, maybe for a second, and my feelings are hurt, and the next thing I know, I'm beating myself up, and I'm like, why did I do that? I fell into that pattern, and why did I fall for it? And I should have been better, and I should have known better. And you're just internally very upset at yourself for getting, for whatever happens, even if it's other people hurting you. And some people externalize anger. Something happens to them, they're mad at the other guy, they're blaming the other guy, they feel victimized by the other guy, they're just angry and looking at, at the kid's teacher, or looking at their friend, or looking at the rabbi, or looking at anyone and feeling just so mad at how they've been treated. For me, I internalize anger. I just get so mad at myself. There's just, I just get so angry at myself for, how did I find myself in this pattern again? And that's, it's not a healthy anger, actually. It can be channeled into something good, but Internalizing anger means that I'm working with anger, and there's a limited amount of things that I can do with anger. I'm going to tell you how I use it in a moment. So my feeling is that a lot of women internalize anger, that a lot of us are spending a lot of time being mad at ourselves, and it could be very subtle. It could be even that someone is, God forbid, in an abusive marriage, and instead of spending her time within the marriage or after the marriage being upset at her husband who treated her horribly, she's upset at herself for falling for him. Or it could be, a woman who's trying to get a project off the ground, but she's pulled by so many things and so many life demands, so she can't get this project off the ground. And she internalizes this anger against herself, instead of taking a look at what are my circumstances, what's reasonable, and who else is involved. Not that she needs to be angry at anyone else, but if she would not internalize that anger, she could work more on lining up the pieces in her life and perhaps get the project done. So I want to share my experience with you, because that's all I got is my experience. And I'm specifically, I think, in this part of this talk, speaking to women who take leadership roles, because when you take a leadership role, and it doesn't have to be official, it could be very unofficial, it could be the PTA. Whenever you take a leadership role, you're putting yourself as a target for people's energies. And people have all kinds of energies. Not everyone is Pollyanna and sunshine. People have criticisms, there's challenges. And it's not only that people, it's intrinsic to the nature of leadership, is that you got to be that strong warrior. Like, you're going to be facing challenges and things are going to happen. So you've got to recognize that if you are being challenged by people, by criticism, there is a very, very good chance that you are doing a very important job. You're in an important role, and this is probably why you're getting this kind of attack or energy, right? So that is number one. And part of that, and this is very, very, very subtle, is that people will test you. They'll test your leadership, and they're just messengers from Hashem. They're just messengers from God, actually building up the leader within you. So they're testing and growing this latent potential that you have inside to be even a stronger leader. And I'll tell you I'll give you a very specific example so I could explain to you why this, I feel, is an important message to give over. Let me think. Okay, let's do it. So I was talking to my husband about the challah bake, and it's extremely exciting. We're preparing for the Shabbos project. The challah bake committee just met. I think they're meeting without me right now because I got to be home right now, and things are starting to brew already for next year, and it's incredibly exciting. And something he said brought me back to the very first challah bake, which I had a really big merit to organize in my community. And making challah is something that I love and is very, very dear to me. I try to never miss a week with Hashem's loving help, and He should please keep on helping me, that I should be able to make challah all the time. And when I heard about the challah bake, I rolled up my sleeves and I said, we got to do this thing. And only with Hashem's help, no credit to me, it really went from 8 people to 1,290 people in 3 weeks. And it was like unbelievable success, and it brought just like tremendous unity and everything. Now, of course, like I said, if you're doing something very important, things are going to happen. And after the challah bake, things started happening to me. I'll give you an example. I got into big trouble, so to speak, because one of the people that I fundraised from was actually someone that someone else had introduced me to. So it was kind of like that was their personal philanthropist for their organization. So it's as if I stepped over the bounds and used one of their people. Now, of course, I didn't mean to do that. As a matter of fact, I thought I was doing a tremendous favor. I'm not only organizing the challah bake, I'm signing up to fundraise for it in 3 weeks. Like, that's a lot of work and a lot of effort. And when I was called in for a meeting and a confrontation about this terrible thing, that line that I crossed and how it was inappropriate, it hurt me to the core. It really hurt me. And And I was brought back there, and I remembered how I navigated that conversation and some other conversations. And I remember how this whole gorgeous thing that I built had it had some bitter seeds attached to it. And I don't want to make a chil Hashem. That means like make a disgrace of Hashem's name, where I'm like kind of highlighting, ways that aren't beautiful. So I'm wary of sharing this. I'm only sharing this because every time you do something important, there are other forces at play that come to challenge you. And that's just the way the world works. And I've had this a lot. I remember when I volunteered to join an evening of learning at someone's house, and I was literally there to give. I gave my children. I put them to bed. I went to someone's house. They had a speaker there. It was a bunch of couples in a wealthy neighborhood that wouldn't have had Torah otherwise. And I went there to make connections and to add spirit. I made a lot of beautiful connections and beautiful conversations. And one of the women, I was in a great conversation with her, and I offered her to learn Parsha once a week, and it was beautiful. And then after that, at the end, the person that I was working with, it was a young rabbi, and his feedback for whoever it was who got me involved was that he thinks it's a little weird that I wear a tichel. It's just not appropriate for the rich crowd. And also he thinks that it's a little too pushy that I offered a Parsha class. Now, I don't really know what to say to that. When I think back to that, I'm not actually hurt, but then I was really hurt. And what I'm learning now is that when you're doing something important, not everybody's gonna get it, and that's gonna have to be okay. So you might think that I'm just relating my woes, but I'm actually not, because I'm actually sharing these stories because I know that there's some of you out there who are experiencing the same thing. There's powerful, dynamic, spiritual women who are so powerful but so sensitive. And when you put yourself out in the world and you start organizing things and you start doing things, you do get hurt. And when you get in those hurt places, you're in those hurt times, you're off your game. And don't be mad at yourself for being hurt. You're a human being. But what happens is, if you can continue to trust in what you have to offer, continue to fight for your gifts, continue to go only where you are appreciated, continue to stick around people who value you, then you will have space to do the work of forgiveness and letting go. And you will be able to forgive others for who they are and stand strong in who you are. And when you finally break the pattern of being so swayed and hurt, and of course I'm sharing my own process with you, but I know for sure from speaking to people that I share this process with so many others. When I'm going to say in I language, when I finally broke the pattern of giving away my power and said, my power is between me and Hashem. It is between me and Hashem. And by the way, just to get a little objectivity, I bounce it off my husband. It's between me and Hashem, and nobody else needs to get it. If you don't get it, see you later. That's okay. You can work with someone else. You can be with someone else. It's okay by me. Then you can stand joyfully in your own strength, and you can finally not judge the other guy for what they, so to speak, put you through, or for their role in everything. And then you can actually create an even greater impact, because when you are, as I used to be, so sensitive and not strong in your core, then every little thing knocks you over. And it used to knock me over. Every little thing used to knock me over. And it would take a lot of energy to get up and keep fighting again. And when I don't think I'm in my final battle, God willing, I have a long life ahead of me. So there's more and more work to do. But when you get a little bit stronger in knowing what you have to offer, those situations, first of all, they don't affect you as much, and much more importantly, they don't have a chance to take root in your life, because when you are not strong, then anything could knock you over. But when you're strong, so something comes at you, and guess what happens to it? It bounces off. Kaboom! Just bounces off, and it's an amazing place to be. And then comes forgiveness, where you don't have to be fighting anything. It's a place of open-hearted expansiveness, where you are who you are, other people are who they are, and Shalom Yisrael, And I don't think, and I know, and this is for another conversation, that that's not the highest level of forgiveness. The highest level of forgiveness is understanding that those people were actually messengers to grow you. As my friend Esther puts it, they're actors. In Hashem's play, they were simply actors, acting out a role. And their role was to help you grow. And that pain that they caused you is there to help you grow. And one day, I should only be able to get to this place, God willing. I'm working, but it's a lot of work to get to the place not only of letting go, not only of shalom, but of literally thanking the people who brought out this strength in you. Because if you don't fight for something, you don't truly have it. When you have to fight for your own place, then you own your place, and it's so much stronger. So my blessing to all of you wonderful, strong, doing, dynamic women is that you honor everything that you have to offer, that you strengthen your connection with Hashem and your dialogue with Him, so that you can get comfort and reassurance and know that He's cheering you on in whatever you're trying to do, and that you be gentle with yourself when challenges do come up, and when you are rattled up and not in your place. And then when you are in your place and you are more settled in your core and in your strength, that you have tremendous success in producing amazing, meaningful, impactful things on the world. All right, guys, have a very good Shabbos. Bye-bye.